Okay, so thanks to you both for joining the webinar. Actually just realized that some people might not have joined because there's a holiday weekend coming up, so maybe a lot of offices are closed. But either way, I'll be recording this presentation and I'll send it out to everyone that is a VISTA supervisor. So thanks for joining the webinar today. Before I get started with the presentation, I'm just going to make a couple of announcements. So everyone should already know this. I have sent out information about this a couple of weeks ago. We will be having the end of year conference for the members in Washington, D.C. from May 11th through 15th. And that is over a weekend, so we will be sending out instructions to you all about how members should log their time, how many flex days they should be allowed, and all of that information soon. And the second point is just about site visits. I have started site visit plans for potential site visits, so we are trying to work out the budget to see if it's possible, but I just wanted to let you all know that we may be doing some site visits soon. So please keep on the lookout for an email from me regarding site visits. Okay, so today's webinar is about supporting your member for life after VISTA. I was hoping to make this one a little more interactive, especially since we won't have this program next year, but there are only a couple of you on, so I will try to make the next one even more interactive and get more people involved. But for now, I'll go over the slides that will pertain to us all, which I think are most of them. Okay, and just to remind you, I'm pretty sure Patty and Beverly have been on. And awesome, Lemuria just joined as well. Welcome to the presentation. We're only on the second slide now, so you haven't missed much. But I just wanted to let you know that I am Janelle McCoy, and I'm one of the Associate Directors with AHOC, and I am the Associate Director that is responsible for managing site partnerships. So as always, if any of you have program questions or want to make edits to your members' VAD or unsure of how to enter time and timesheets or basically any program questions, just please feel free to reach out to me. And that's my email on the screen. Okay, so we just have a couple of objectives today. The presentation today will probably be a little bit shorter than normal just because it was going to be a little bit more interactive, but I'm sure you will get a good amount of information from it. And also, if you have any questions that come up, since this is an abbreviated presentation, you can definitely reach out to me and I can guide you in the right direction when it comes to resources. I'll share those with you and answer any questions you may have regarding end of service. Another point to make is that their VISTA leaders have all given them a great presentation and probably will be giving more on things that they can do for life after service, such as using their NCE award, translating their service to their resume, and other related topics. So this presentation isn't going to be super in-depth. It'll be more of what you can do from what you can do as a supervisor. So today's objectives will be to identify end-of-service activities. That includes anything that the member needs to do for your program, along with the couple of things that we need you both to do in order to close the member out of service. And the second objective is to ways you can work with your member to help them to prepare for after service. So the first part is just ensuring sustainability. So basically, what do AmeriCorps members need to do to pass on their duties before they complete their year of service? So this is one of those interactive slides I was talking about. but now we have 3 people on the call, so maybe we can have a little conversation, depending on how you all are feeling or if you have any ideas about it. So this is just a scenario. There's a VISTA member that is approaching 10 months of service as the food awareness coordinator at an organization. She's established a food coalition, a volunteer SNAP internship program, and worked to establish a local farmers market that accepts SNAP benefits. So I can also go back to the slide, but I'll leave it up for a few more seconds so you all can check it out. Okay, so now using this information, I'm just going to ask you a quick question on the next slide. So this is just a chat question. So do you all have any ideas for what the member in the scenario could do to ensure a smooth transition to whomever will be carrying on the program? And you can, since there's only a few of us, you can definitely just speak up through your audio.
This is Lemuria from United Way of New York City. I think one of the things that the member can do is certainly kind of prepare a program plan that outlines exactly who is responsible for what happens with the outcomes of the program, so that as they pass the torch or transition out of the assignment, there are no questions around how the work lives on beyond their work.
Yes, that's an awesome idea.
And I think that also gives them an opportunity to kind of practice that as a skill for whatever comes next in their career.
Yes, for sure. Because they have to be very specific with directions, especially since they may not be able to train that person, and it might be someone that comes on after. So that's a really good point. And Beverly or Patty, would you like to share anything?
Well, this is Beverly in Washington, D.C. What we do is to actually have our VISTAs develop a workbook. And it's a transition book for a project that they have done during the year. And it outlines everything you need to do in order to have the program. So that the next person comes in, we can hand them the book. And it's basically a workbook. They look at it, they know who they need to call, they know why the program happens, what the budget is for the program, who are the key players, what are the outcomes we're looking for, what are the materials that are needed, and it is a step-by-step guide. It has saved us on so many occasions that we absolutely love it. So all of our VISTAs do that for any major project they work on.
Awesome. And do you, by any chance, have a digital copy of that you could share?
Sure. I'll have to clean it up because some of ours are internal copies, so there might be a couple of typos, but they have great graphics and all this other stuff. But yes, absolutely, I could share one.
Awesome. That would be really helpful, especially since this is the last year of this program. It would be helpful because then one of the VISTA leaders, Madison, her special project is to work on sustainability with the VISTAs. So, if any of the other VISTAs at other sites are having a difficult time trying to figure out where to start when it comes to creating a sort of legacy binder or a, did you call it, Ann? A workbook, that something like that would be really helpful for them in creating their own. Awesome.
We can do that.
Appreciate it. And Patty, do you have any ideas? If not, it's okay too. Okay, so I'll just give a couple of the ideas, and these may be repeating what you have because I pre-wrote this and it sounded like you both had a lot of great ideas. So some of the ideas I had would be for, I think Lumeria actually said this already, but creating a list of organizations that are participating in the program with contact information for each. If a member is giving information about their transition and who will be taking over the lead, it would definitely be helpful to either have a person that will be at the organization get a copy of the email that was sent to all those people, or even something as simple as a printout of that email would be really helpful. meeting notes and minutes from all the meetings that the VISTA had attended. So to make sure that whoever's coming on next will have all the information about possible pitfalls that may have been encountered already and solutions that have already come up, just so they're not repeating or trying to rework something that was already done. And then regarding the information about the farmers market areas, that was in that specific example. Information that would help would be more information on where all of the 5 markets are in accepting SNAP, so what steps that have been done so far, any pitfalls, things like that. And lastly, any resources and materials on SNAP at farmers markets and information at contacts at the markets. So like Beverly and Laria both said, it's really helpful to have some sort of plan and to have all of the specific information on the program. So whoever is coming up next, hopefully if they have any questions, all of those questions can be answered by those materials. Thanks to you both. All right, so that went pretty well. So let's see how the rest goes. So I'm sure all of you know, since you all are pretty involved with all the roundtables and such, that I just have to put this in there that as directed by Congress, VISTAs are short-term resources that serve to build the long-term sustainability of anti-poverty programs. VISTA projects should be developed with a goal to phase out the need for VISTA members and maintain the ability of the project to continue without them. So I have worked with you all to help develop the VADs, and you 3 are doing really well. I haven't noticed that any of your members are doing a lot of direct service or basically things that would keep them from building sustainable programs. So basically high fives to you all. So I'm just going to make this announcement for anyone that's possibly listening on the recording. So this slide is especially important for this year since you need to know that this is the last year of the program, so we just need to make sure that your member is working on as many sustainable processes and programs as possible so that those programs will be able to continue once your member is no longer in service. And so someone, either another employee or a skilled volunteer or maybe a VISTA member from another program will be able to continue the work. So just make sure that they're working on something sustainable. All right. So in order to create sustainable programs, another important thing that should be done is for you all to meet with your VISTA. You 3 seem pretty involved with your VISTA members, so I'm sure you all have been doing these things. But these are just some questions that should be addressed at upcoming meetings, just to be able to make sure that sustainable things are being created. So what would someone in the future or someone new to the program want to know about the projects if they were new to the organization? What did you wish you knew about your project before you started? So it's either for you or the VISTA member, so something that you might not have necessarily known at the beginning that you figured out or anything like that that would be pertinent to the program. What materials or documents will the person or people need if they continue on with the projects? And will there be someone taking over the project? If not, how can it be made sustainable on its own? And lastly, what materials need to be in place to help the program succeed in the future? So during your meeting, you should discuss how the information will be shared. Will it be via a physical legacy binder, as both Beverly and Maria had given as their examples? Will it be via a final report, via online archives such as on Dropbox or Google? So just make sure that you all meet to discuss that and what would be the best for your organization. And also, this meeting will ensure that your VISTA is thinking about the sustainability component of their work and will give you a chance to discuss the strategy for ensuring that the VISTA work continues. And I'm sure you three have probably seen this slide since it was from a presentation I gave in last October on managing your member. But I just wanted to mention it again since it is coming up soon. So please remember that your member should be able to transfer knowledge, products, and relationships to someone who will be taking over. I discussed what types of things are included in these categories during the Managing Your Member Roundtable in October of last year. I have included a link to the YouTube recording of that training on the resources slide of this presentation. So you could definitely check that out again if you need more ideas. There are definitely more specific examples of things that could be used in your legacy binders. All right, so I have another question, another interactive question if you all are interested. And if you aren't, we could definitely move on, but I wanted to put it out there in case you are. So what has your experience been with transitioning a program from one employee to another? What issues may have come up for you or other employees or volunteers? So this doesn't necessarily have to be with the VISTA program, but there might have been similar issues with transitioning to VISTA, so you can definitely share anything that might be relevant to this question. So anyone feel free to speak if you have anything to add.
I think one of the things, Lemuria, one of the things that has definitely come up on a few instances is that the relationships live with a person, and not necessarily with the program or with the body of work. And so transferring the relationships along has been, it sometimes it has been a challenge. I think in the work that we've done with Grace, who's our VISTA, we've really approached it in a team effort so that those relationships don't necessarily live with any one person, but they live with the team.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And it's a great idea, too, to start as a team. Sometimes sites don't start as a team, so it might not be too late now for either of you on the call or anyone listening. But if it is getting close to the end of service, something that probably would help is, even though the program wasn't already worked together as a team, is to start to get the people that are definitely staying at the organization involved, and even the people that might be taking over, such as a skilled volunteer or anything like that, involved. And so if the VISTA can bring these people along to the meetings, introduce them, hopefully get them to 2 or 3 meetings before the VISTAs end their service, that would probably be something that would help with that issue as well. But yeah, great idea. Definitely, if you aren't already, trying to get everyone in as a team would be a great thing to do. Does anyone else want to add anything? Okay, so I will move on to part 2. So these are just some ways to support your member. And this is with, what they will be doing after they end their service. So there are just 3 of us, so I guess we could just say yes or no's, but we can do something fun and you can just fill out this poll. So do you know what your VISTA wants to do after their year of service? And so you could just click yes or no. Okay, so looks like the majority of you out of the 3 do know, but if you don't know, that's also okay. So let me just read a little bit about this. So if you answered no to this question, I just suggest that you reach out to your VISTA, probably during one of your weekly or bi-weekly check-ins, to try to find out what they're interested in doing after their year of service. Maybe you can help get them that professional development to achieve those goals, or perhaps connect them to someone else or to resources that assist them. And if you answered yes, great job, since when a member knows that their supervisor cares about what is next for them, they are more apt to finish their VISTA year strongly than for a site or supervisor who shows no interest in their future aspirations. And I'm not saying that if you answered no, that you don't care about their future aspirations, since I do know that supervision is probably one of the tens to 20s of duties you probably have at your site. But if you do have the time to chat with them about something like that, I'm pretty much sure that they would be very appreciative of it. Just speaking from being a former VISTA myself, when my supervisor asked me what I was interested in after service, sometimes VISTAs might not even be thinking about it. So if you start talking to them about that when they're like 3 to 4 months out of service, or even maybe 6 months away from their end of service, it'll be really helpful for them to get them on the right track with what they have planned for the future. And then in starting with
mm-hmm. Can I just share, because I answered no, but I did want to just say that we do have I'm doing an informational interview with my VISTA next week, just to kind of figure out what her, kind of what she wants to do afterwards, and see how we can support her in training and preparing for whatever that is. But also I've shared quite a few articles and information with her just around leadership development and kind of women getting to the C-suite, because she's a young woman. And so I've certainly supported her professional development, but I will know what she's going to do after we meet next week. We have it scheduled, but it hasn't happened yet.
Awesome. So yeah, you're definitely on the right track with that. And if I would have done this presentation next week, you would have written yes. But yeah, those are other great ideas too, to make sure that you're sharing, possible professional development resources. Something that my supervisor did when I was a VISTA was to share any, like what you did, share any leadership workshops coming up, or any types of nonprofit workshops coming up that would be beneficial. So yeah, it's great that you're sharing those resources with her now. Awesome. So I'm excited. I'm going to count yours as a yes too. Okay. So
great, thank you.
Thank you. And so let's go over some talking points. So since the three of you pretty much have been doing these things, this is mostly for people that might be listening that haven't yet had a chance to talk to their members, or it might also apply to you. So I'm just going to go over some talking points. And these are examples that I have taken from the Transitions Talking Points document on VISTA Campus. That was a pretty comprehensive document. It had about 2 pages of questions that you can use as sort of icebreakers to get more in depth with your member about what they may be interested in the future. But I just picked a few from that just to highlight here. So maybe something that you might want to talk about would be what ways has their service changed them as a person? How will that formal training that they receive from VISTA help in the future? Did they discover any new professional interests or career paths? And what options have you considered for immediate post-service plan? So these are just some questions. And the questions on the Transitions Talking Point sheet cover everything from helping them reflect on their personal growth, talking about professional development, different short-term and long-term plans. So I have included the link to the Talking Points document on VISTA Campus on the resources slide of this presentation, and I will definitely be sending out the recording of the presentation along with the PDFs of that. And you probably won't be able to open links from the PDF. So if you aren't, then I will make sure to include the links in the body of the email, just so that you all will be able to access those resources. And again, if anyone needs guidance on different Life After VISTA resources, I will definitely be available to share a lot. There are plenty of them. I just couldn't include all of them in this presentation. Okay, so these are just some tasks that you as a supervisor could do to help prepare your member for Life After VISTA. And of course, this isn't an all-inclusive list. I know that I believe it was Maria already added a couple of things that she's done, such as doing an informational interview with her member to get more information about what they're interested in, to possibly connect them with professional development resources they may need, and also sharing relevant articles to helping them in the future. So these are some things in addition to those ideas, and I'm sure you all probably have a ton as well. So you can let them know that you're available to be a reference. If possible, let them know you can do mock interviews with them or possibly connect them with someone who would be able to do that. Try to highlight their service by giving them an award or telling about their accomplishments publicly, such as in a newspaper, in your newsletter, or social media. Connect with them on LinkedIn, and if they don't have one, try to encourage them to create one and keep it up to date. Try to offer to review their VAD in order to help them review their VAD with them in order to help them highlight the experience they gained during their VISTA year. So basically, you could go through and see what accomplishments they've come up with. Hopefully you all keep track of the numbers they reach in terms of reporting so that they could use those as numbers on their resume to add an extra element. And then lastly, work with them on translating their service to fit a resume if they do need guidance. Some members might have more experience with resume building, but there might be some that may not. So if just let them know if that's something you're comfortable doing. Definitely offer that, and I'm sure they would appreciate it. Also, I'm pretty sure that I don't work on conference planning, but Chris, the associate director that works on programming, mentioned something yesterday about how a lot of members are interested in getting more information on translating their service for a resume. So we might also be doing something like that at our end of year conference, but I'm sure since you all work with them day to day, you might know more information that would be really helpful for including that stuff on their resume. So those are just some ideas. And I'm sure that you all have some great ones as well. So I guess if anyone wants to share, you could definitely share any ideas if you have any for possible things to do. All right, so let's move to the next part. So I mentioned highlighting accomplishments. So as you all know, AmeriCorps VISTA is a capacity building program. Ideally, by the end of your VISTA member service, they will have developed and implemented successful programs and best practices. So if possible, try to highlight their accomplishments. Here are a couple of ideas for how to do so. So like I said before, you could give them an award, maybe post about them on social media, perhaps include an infographic about the impact that they had about your organization. And lastly, list the programs that they developed and improved. So again, these are just a couple of ways to highlight accomplishments. I'm sure you all might have some great ideas as well, maybe like an end of year get together with all the coworkers, maybe introducing them as a VISTA member to community partners and things like that. All of that stuff that you do during the year definitely highlights their accomplishments. So now we're just going to move on to feedback, since soon we'll be talking about the future plans for. So one important thing that a supervisor can do to help their member with life after service is to give them feedback. Ideally, you have all been giving feedback at weekly or biweekly check-ins in order for them to know what they have been doing well and things that they need to improve upon. However, giving them feedback at the end of their terms and highlighting their accomplishments and letting them know things that they need to improve upon will help them with future positions. So in case anyone wants to share, you can definitely share now. So does anyone have any stories or advice on providing feedback?
This is Beverly. I was laughing when you talked about highlighting accomplishments because I just so love my Vista. But I loved all my Vistas, but I love this Vista so much because she is just so forward thinking. I can say half a sentence and she'll have the job done. It's really incredible. And when you said post about them on social media, I was like, she does all my posting. And then it's like infographics. She'd have to do her own infographic. So, but it was just very funny. But, yeah, a lot about that, just highlighting. We do it all year long. We're a very, very, very small office. And so I'm going to look at those things. I mean, we will have a party, but I do love the idea of just letting people outside of the office, other than the ones I've already told. But just, yeah, on social media, letting them know what you've done. And I love the idea of infographics, so thank you for that. I think that's
no
great.
problem. I actually was thinking about that when I wrote that part of the presentation because I do know a lot of the VISTA members do social media. So I didn't want to mention it outright, but I know that they might, if that's something that you want to do, they might end up making their own infographic to highlight their work. But that's like an insider thing. We're the only ones that know that the members are posting those. But to the outside, they're going to be like, wow, this Vista did a lot. They're not going to know that the member actually posted it themselves. It is very true, though. And regarding giving the members an award, my supervisor, when I was a VISTA, actually did that for me. And I'm kind of like a more introverted person, so I guess I did like the award, but at the same time I was a little shy to receive it. But she gave me an award at like an end of year benefit type thing, and I think it was like volunteer of the year or something like that. So it did mean a lot. So if there's the ability to do something like that, I'm sure the member would probably appreciate it. But I think every little bit of appreciation counts when you're a VISTA. But yeah, thanks so much. I'm glad to hear that you're happy with your VISTA. Okay, so actually I just wanted to go back to this because one piece of advice I have on providing feedback is I guess everyone receives feedback differently, so just gauge what mode of feedback would work best for your member, and make sure you set aside a time and let your member know that that's what the meeting will be about, is to give feedback. Have a written document that shows them all of the things that you're talking about, just so that they have something to refer to. And hopefully you give that feedback with some time for them to make improvements or to build upon whatever things they have achieved in order to have the best outcome by the end of the year. So that's just some advice I have for feedback. So now we're getting to the fun stuff, the administrative tasks to close service. I think most of you have already done all this stuff already, but I'm going to go over it just to make sure there's no confusion, and since I have you all on the line. All of you already know this, but I just wanted to let you know that any reference to termination is a good thing because ironically termination means successful completion of a year of service according to CNCS. So your members might be a little confused when they see termination on their future plans form, so you can let them know that that's a good thing. So I just wanted to point that out because we have a lot of supervisors and members that are a bit concerned when they see that, so I just wanted to make sure that they don't get confused about it. So you can see on the screen that the members and the supervisors' versions of the future plans forms are a little bit different. So I just wanted to present them so you can get an idea. And just a note about your version of the future plans form, whatever you write on it, your member can read it. So make sure that whatever you're including on it is something that you have already discussed with your member. Hopefully none of your members have any issues with their work, but if there is an issue, I just suggest that you address that before, hopefully long before the future plans form is due, But if it's something that comes up at the end, just try to address that in person first, just to avoid any awkward moments. Because I've seen, some members be confused about why they got inadequate in an area they thought they were doing pretty well in. So that's just something I wanted to point out. And just some words about more specifics about the future plans form. It's the most important paperwork that is completed during the terminating process. And if a member or supervisor failed to complete this form by the designated due dates, the member may see a delay in their end of service benefit processing. There are two versions. One is by the member and one is by the supervisor. The member's version is on AmeriCorps.gov, and I'll make sure their leaders remind them long before they have to actually complete them. And the supervisor version comes from me. I'll definitely send that out on time, and it is via a Word document. So I'll send that document to you about a month and a half before the member completes service. And I'll definitely mention the due date, like the ultimate due date, to make sure that we can get all their paperwork in on time. And just a little bit more instructions about the members portion. In the member's 10th month of service, they'll need to complete the form. They'll get a reminder through AmeriCorps.gov, and I'll have their leaders remind them about that. And it will ask the member what they wish to do about exiting their service. It says terminating, which I mentioned, is successful completion of service, re-enrollment, or extension of service. Since this is the last year of the AHOC program, the only option that the member should select is termination. And in this case, termination is good, and it means that they successfully completed their year. And also, one thing to note is even though they select termination, they still will be able to serve another year VISTA or AmeriCorps with another program, since termination in this case only refers to the AHOC service. So I just wanted to mention that in case any of your members may be interested in doing another term. And then just for the supervisor instructions, I'll move on to the next slide to go over that quickly. So I will send you a Microsoft Word document since you all don't have access to eGrants. And the form on the slide above is identical to what you will be receiving. When you fill it out and send it back, please make sure to send it back as a Word document, because that will save time for me, because I can just copy and paste the text into eGrants. Sometimes with PDFs, I can't really copy the text, and then it takes me about 15 minutes extra to just copy that. So I just wanted to mention that quickly. And then as for the signature, you can sign it electronically, meaning that you can type above the line in the Word document and date it, as long as you send me that document in your email. And again, I will be sending out all of the information about this to you directly via email, but I wanted to mention it now just in case you had any questions, or since we're all on the line right now. So quickly, this is the procedure for completing the future plans form. Again, so step one, member will meet with them to discuss their close of service. So that means just going over all the things on the future plans forms with them and the evaluation. Make sure that they complete their portion, and their leader will also remind them as well. You should complete yours and discuss the future plans form with them, and submit that form to me via email. And once it's reviewed, I will upload it to CNCS to review it. And then the member must log into the system again to certify the portion of the form that I submit on your behalf. And then these are just the due dates. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but I will make sure to send you all your portions of the future plans form about a month and a half before the due date above. And then just some guidelines for giving feedback. Be specific and support general statements with examples. Describe the facts and do not judge. Be direct, clear, and to the point. Direct feedback towards controllable behavior. Like I said before, any feedback you give them, even if it's criticizing their work, will be helpful. but do direct it towards a controllable behavior so that they can make improvements and carry on those skills to whatever job they have in the future. Feedback should be solicited rather than imposed. In this case, with the future plans form, you do actually have to impose it, but they may ask you for some feedback during the year, so please try to give it if possible. And then consider the timing of the feedback, just meaning that, try to give them feedback regularly so that if you do have something about their work that might be negative or might need improvement, it just doesn't feel to them like you're just coming to them when you have things they need to improve. So, just try to give them both positive and negative feedback if there is any, and try to balance it out. Try to plan your feedback, plan what to say and in what order, and own your feedback, which I'm sure you all do. And again, regarding considering the timing of feedback, please do give them feedback before the future plans form. I'm sure you all have great communication with them, so that shouldn't be an issue. And then more logistics, close of service checklist. So both the site and the member should complete their versions of the future plans form at least 45 days before the close of service. And the member completes all outstanding timesheets in America Learns. So you may have been getting a lot of emails from me recently if any members are late with their timesheets or, a lot of back and forth. It's just because I want to make sure that they are completed by the time they end service, and also just to see where they are with leave, since some of them may be at half term or so, and we just want to make sure that they have their leave, and if any medical issues come up, that we can definitely request 5 additional days past the 20 that are given, if necessary. So I apologize if we get a lot of those emails, but we just want to make sure they're all on track. And then also, they should complete their reporting and reflection logs in America Learns. And lastly, the member should submit to their VISTA leader copies of all final documents, guides, processes created during their VISTA year. One thing to mention as well, I mentioned it briefly earlier in the presentation, but since this is the last year of this specific program, we've assigned one of the VISTA leaders, Madison, to help with reviewing sustainability guides and helping members come up with their guides. So if any members are struggling or they need another pair of eyes to go over their sustainability document, they can definitely send those over. And Madison and I will work together to try to, make some edits or help guide members if they need that type of assistance as well. So I just wanted to mention that since that's a new thing. All right, so that's the end of my information, but I just wanted to go over a couple of great resources. So I've mentioned this many times before. VistaCampus.gov is a great resource. The majority of my presentations are usually taken from there and compiled. So if you want more in-depth presentations on any things I've mentioned, there's probably one for each of the slides before this, if not at least combined together, making a presentation. So I definitely suggest that you create a supervisor account on Vista Campus. There's a great supervisor section. There's a forum where you can enter any issues you may be having with supervisors, ask for guidance. Maybe if you're trying to get a member to start up a program, you can post there to see if other supervisors have done similar things. So I just wanted to bring that up because it's a great place to start, especially if you want more information on being a VISTA supervisor. I use it a lot. So I definitely suggest you all check it out if you have time. And this is the resource slide. So I've taken all the information I've included in the slides are probably from one of these documents. So I've attached an exit binder contents page, the transition talking points I mentioned. The self-assessment question bank is just something that you could work with your member on helping them to assess what they might want to do in the future or what they learned so far in the VISTA program. if they might be unsure of what type of path they want to take in the future. And then incorporating transition planning is another great one. And then the exit binder and sustainability binder, the fifth link is a really great resource. It is an example of a sustainability binder that another site had created, not with our program, but it's actually found that in the Can I Have a Copy of That section of VISTA Campus, which I definitely suggest you all check out if you have a chance. There are a lot of great resources and materials on that, so your members don't have to recreate the wheel if they're creating templates for something. And lastly, the Managing Your Member Roundtable from last October that has a lot of great resources on sustainability. So that is the end of my slides, but I just wanted to open the floor if anyone has any questions. You can definitely ask them now.
I don't have any questions, but this has been really helpful. So thank you so much for this. And I'll also share this with my colleague, Emily, that does a lot of the kind of day-to-day management with Grace. She's on vacation this week.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it, and I'm glad that you were able to attend. I just wanted to also say thank you to you all for taking the time to be VISTA supervisors. I do know that a lot of you have a lot of other duties that you might be working on, so we definitely appreciate your assistance with helping your member comply with all of the rules that TNCS sets forth and such, because it's a big help to have you all in place at your sites. So thanks so much, and I really appreciate that you all joined today. So I will be sending out a copy of this recording later today, along with the PDF of the slides for future reference. But yeah, thanks again to everyone. And last call for questions. Does anyone have any questions or comments they want to make? All right. Thanks, everyone. I hope you have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.